Dawn broke over the sleepy village, its cobblestone streets still glistening from the night's rain. A gentle mist clung to the air, weaving between shuttered houses and winding alleys. In the heart of the square, where markets once bustled with life, stood an ancient statue of Christ, its weathered face a silent sentinel over the quiet morning. But on this day, something extraordinary was unfolding at the statue's base. Something that would capture the attention of even the most distracted passerby. A tiny puppy, no more than 8 weeks old, trembled on the cold stone. Its fur was matted and dirty, ribs visible beneath the thin coat. With wobbling determination, the pup rose onto its hind legs, front paws pressed together as if in fervent prayer. Despite its exhaustion, the puppy's eyes, wide and glistening with tears, gazed upward at the towering figure above. For a moment, the square held its breath, the usual morning chorus. Chirping sparrows, creaking carts, rustling leaves, all fell silent, as if in reverence of this small creature's plea. Then the sound of footsteps broke the stillness. From a nearby lane emerged an elderly woman, her silver hair neatly pinned back, a wicker basket draped with faded cloth hanging from her arm. This was Maria, a fixture of the village for over 7 decades. Maria had walked these streets countless times, once arm in arm with her beloved Antonio after Sunday Mass, their laughter mingling with the chatter of neighbors. But Antonio had passed away 5 years ago, leaving Maria's world muted and gray. Her once lively home now echoed with silence, and her eyes carried the distant look of one who no longer expected life to surprise her. This morning's errand for bread should have been like any other. But as Maria's gaze fell upon the praying puppy, she stopped in her tracks. "Oh, little one," she murmured, her voice rough from disuse. "What brings you here?" The puppy's head swiveled at the sound, its tear-filled eyes meeting Maria's. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stand still. Then, with a plaintive whimper, the pup shifted its clasped paws towards her, a clear, desperate plea for help. Maria's throat tightened. She hadn't truly prayed since Antonio's death had shaken her faith to its core. Yet here was this tiny creature, praying as naturally as breathing. The puppy dropped to all fours, stumbling a few steps towards Maria before pausing to look back, as if urging her to follow. It wasn't running away, it was leading her somewhere. Something stirred in Maria's chest. A long dormant ache, the weight of loneliness, and beneath it all, flicker of curiosity. She found herself following the pup's lead. Through narrow alleys they went, past crumbling walls draped in ivy, across patches of overgrown gardens. Maria's steps were cautious on the slick stones, but her eyes never left her small guide. Finally, they reached the village outskirts, where the puppy came to a halt behind a broken fence. There, in the shadows of an abandoned shed, lay a mother dog. The sight broke Maria's heart. The dog's fur was matted and filthy, one leg bearing an angry open wound. Each breath she took was labored and shallow. Yet even in her pain, the mother's eyes sought out the puppy, softening with relief, as the little one pressed close to her side. Maria knelt beside them, her joints protesting the movement. "Oh, you poor dears," she whispered, reaching out with trembling hands. The mother dog whined softly, too weak to resist, too desperate to refuse help. With a gentleness she hadn't used in years, Maria carefully lifted the frail body. The dog was shockingly light in her arms, more bone than flesh, yet warm and alive. The puppy circled anxiously, letting out small cries of concern as Maria rose, cradling its mother. Without hesitation, Maria began the walk back to town, the pup trotting faithfully at her heels. At the village's small veterinary clinic, Maria's voice shook as she pleaded for assistance. Dr. Rossi, the kind-hearted vet, rushed them inside. Soon the air filled with the sounds of urgent care, the rustle of bandages, the sharp scent of antiseptic, the murmur of soothing words. Maria stood back, the puppy pressed against her skirts, whispering reassurances to all of them. After what felt like hours, Dr. Rossi emerged with a tired but hopeful smile. "She pulled through," he said softly. Tears welled in Maria's eyes as she bent to let the puppy lick her fingers. For the first time in years, a weight lifted from her chest. Days turned into weeks. The mother dog, whom Maria named Luna, slowly regained her strength under gentle care. Her wound healed, her eyes brightened. The puppy, now called Stella, grew bolder and more playful, filling Maria's one silent home with the patter of paws and joyful yips. At first, Maria resisted the change. She told herself she was too old to set in her ways to care for animals. She even considered taking them to a shelter. But each time Stella pressed her paws together in that prayer-like pose, Maria felt her resolve weaken. Gradually, the house that had felt like a mausoleum of memories came alive again. There was the click of nails on tile, the splash of water as Luna drank, Stella's excited barks as she chased sunbeams. Maria found herself humming as she cooked, her voice filling corners that had long been silent. Most surprisingly of all, she found herself laughing, a sound she thought she'd lost forever. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink, Maria sat on her small porch. Luna sprawled at her feet, content and relaxed. Stella curled in her lap, tiny chest rising and falling in peaceful sleep. Maria stroked their fur with steady hands. "You saved me too," she whispered. She had thought she was rescuing them, but in truth, they had rescued her. Now they had pulled her from the stagnant waters of grief, reminding her of the simple joys of caring, of loving without condition. From that day forward, Maria was rarely seen without her canine companions. The villagers watched in quiet amazement as the woman who once walked with downcast eyes now moved with purpose, 2 loyal dogs always by her side. Children stopped to pet Stella. Neighbors paused to ask after Luna's health. The village square seemed a little brighter when Maria passed through. Sometimes, in the quiet of early morning, when mist still swirled around the old statue, Stella would pause at its base. She'd rise onto her hind legs, press her paws together, and look upward with those soulful eyes. Maria, standing nearby, would smile. For what had begun as a small miracle, a praying puppy, had blossomed into something far greater, the renewal of a lonely heart, the weaving together of broken lives, and the quiet proof that kindness once given multiplies in ways we can never predict.